Hello YouTube! So this is in theory the final video in a series of videos on this topic I've made relating to wood stove comparison using different fuel with 4 different models of stoves. So this video is mainly me talking through some slides, so I'm going to try to rattle through it so it's not too painful. Point of all this was just to compare the 4 different units with 3 different kinds of fuel: wood, pine cones, and hardwood pellets, and just see how they all compare and what the relative strengths and weaknesses of each model is, if there's any obvious differences and stuff with the different fuels and so forth. So there were 4 earlier videos that are put out, and the 4 stoves, I've labeled them here just for really clear reference. A so-called silver fire clone from Lixada, a so-called toque style, which is taller, so-called wild wood gas clone, and then the BioLite. So first, talking about hardwood pellets. Some people might say pellets are kind of the ideal fuel in the sense that they burn really consistently. They have a consistent amount of heat they put out. They light quite easily. It's quite easy to reload partway through if you just gradually add a little bit of fuel at a time. And generally it burns with the least amount of smoke. And if you put in a full load into one of the stoves, then you get the best burn time. So you can get more than an hour of active heat, and that's pretty awesome, especially compared to something that burns fast and hot, but very short amount of time, something like pine cones, which burn less than 10 minutes. And comparing the 4 models of stove, when you use the wood pellets as your fuel, the BioLite managed to boil water a little bit faster than the Silver Scout, the solo clone models, and then the Toque's taller clone was the slowest of them all using hardwood pellets. So the BioLite was the fastest boil using hardwood pellets. Using scavenged wood, it's important to mention that you have to have nice dry wood, and if it's kind of damp, then you're in trouble. Generally speaking, wood burns at an intermediate rate. It's a longer burn than pine cones and a shorter burn than pellets. It's obviously going to depend a little bit on how nice the wood is that you get, whether it's extra hard and extra dense, or whether it's kind of dry and punky and fluffy and light, or whether it's just small twigs or what. But with the mix of fuel that I used for my test runs, the solo clone was the fastest boil, just over 6.5 minutes roughly, and then the Toque's clone was around 7 minutes, and 7:45 for the BioLite, and then the Silver Scout clone is around 8 minutes. So they're all in a similar ballpark when using scavenged wood fuel. And yeah, don't try to use damp fuel, it really stinks. And if there's any doubt, if you're actually scavenging when you're camping, you have to do it when the wood is dry, and then carry it with you if there's rain coming, because otherwise you're going to be stuck trying to burn this stuff in these stoves when it's damp. Is really bad news. Pine cones tend to burn nice, hot, fast. They don't last long, they're good for a quick boil up. That's about it. It's easy to refuel because they're so light, you can just toss them in and they don't weigh down the fire as much. They don't block it and suffocate it as much. And yeah, the BioLite had the fastest boil, although they were all pretty close really with the pine cones, because they just burn so insanely fast and hot. Overall, looking at the stoves for pros and cons, so the so-called Silver Scout style one was generally a good all-rounder. It is a bit of a bother though to reload it if you have a pot on it and you need to add more fuel. You have to basically lift the pot off and add the fuel, put the pot back on, and generally you have to add fuel gradually over a few minutes, so that means moving the pot repeatedly, which is a bit of a drama. The so-called Toque style number 2 stove is my favorite for using scavenged wood burning stuff with large volume. It's really easy to add more fuel gradually since it's got a big access port on the side. And it seems that it's a fairly bad stove to use with wood pellets because it's so tall. The pellets stay in the bottom half and lower, and your stuff that you're cooking is way up at the top, and the heat isn't as effectively transferred to what you're cooking. So I'd just say don't bother using wood pellets in that one. The third stove, the so-called wild wood gas one, is a great compromise design between the first two, in the sense that it's a little bit taller but not as tall. And it does have some access space so that you can refuel while you're still leaving your pot on top. And it seems to work well with both wood pellets or with scavenged wood or pine cones as your fuel. And the BioLite is exceptionally good with wood pellets. It tends to burn down too quick, I would say, with pine cones. And it's fine with dry wood if you're using scavenged wood. The BioLite is especially sensitive if you have damp wood. It smokes really badly. So I would generally just say, either don't even try if your wood isn't super dry, or you have to dry it out somehow before you use it. More footnotes on the different stoves. The Silver Scout style one is nice if you don't have to reload it when you're cooking, and otherwise it's a bit of a pain. The taller Toke style clone is good for scavenged or general cone style fuel, and it's no good with the pellets, really, too much wasted heat, but it's awesome if you're doing gradual reloading with fuel through the large access port. The third stove, the Wild Wood Gas style, is a nice compromise design, and if I was going camping with only one stove, this would be the one stove that I would want, because it's very versatile and it works well. And the BioLite is neat, and if I was keen about having the fastest boil times, and if I knew I would have access to dry fuel, then this would be your best pick. Some people don't like the whirring fan noise. It doesn't really bother me. I don't own this stove though, so it doesn't really matter. I just borrowed it from a friend. And the USB charging port is kind of cool and very neat actually if you really need a charge, but that's icing on the cake. So just a few general comments about the stoves in general. And this is kind of extraneous extra information, I guess you might say. Having a windbreak or some kind of shelter when you're running the stove is really quite important to get the optimal amount of heat into the thing you're cooking and not whisked away. So either set up behind a rock or natural shelter from the wind, or if there is no natural shelter, then you can just use some kind of windbreak. I use a high-tech oven liner tray folded in 4, and that's simple and it works. You can buy fancier kind of screen things on eBay or Amazon or whatnot, or God forbid the camping store, and any of these things work. You just have to make sure it's the correct height for whatever stove you're using it with, since some of these guys are taller than others. Another general comment, which became especially true for me the first time I was using these guys, is I was used to having camping stoves that were not cheap and that were not light, like classic Coleman things that you fill up with liquid naphtha fuel and you pump them up and they're kind of heavy. But with these stoves, that's not an issue. They're quite lightweight, they're fairly portable, and they're fairly cheap. So there's no reason not to have two. So it's an awful lot nicer when you're camping and you can have 2 burners going. You use one of them for boiling water, you use the other one for your primary cooking, or you use both of them for cooking and then flip one of them to water. Whatever, depends what you're cooking, but it's awfully nice and it's awfully simple. And the things are cheap enough and light enough that it's really a non-issue. So that's just something to think about. Otherwise, some general thoughts. Know a little bit about where you're going ideally. Make sure there's going to be suitable fuel to scavenge. It's okay to scavenge it, and that the weather is suitable, that it's not going to be damp and gross. And of course be mindful of the local conditions. So if there's a fire ban on or something, you may not be able to use these things the way you might otherwise expect, or you might have to resort to wood pellets, which burn pretty much smoke-free and spark-free, but that's of course discretionary based on where you are and so forth. And of course you do need to have them sitting on something that is suitable. Putting them right on the ground is fine. If you put any of the Lixada units right on grass, then you're basically going to kill the grass underneath the stove, and there's really no way around that. If it's on the forest floor, it's not going to get hot enough to cause fire danger, I don't believe. In some cases, you may get some embers falling through, and that's why I sometimes use a tin can lid underneath just as a general shield, but that's optional. And you don't want to rest these things on a picnic table, or you're going to leave a singe burn ring mark on the wood, so that's really not nice and not recommended. BioLite, since it has elevated legs and no holes in the bottom, you can run it practically in your hand and it doesn't matter. You can certainly rest it on a picnic table. So just think about where you're going and what the environment's going to be like. Another general thing, because a bunch of these YouTube videos are kind of painful to watch, there's no need for it to be complicated. You can light these things really easily. You could just use crumpled up paper or something like that, easy tinder. I have been a complete convert into the Vaseline soaked cotton balls, which are really superior for lighting them quick and easy. And I'm also a big fan of what some people would call the proper method of using these stoves, where you fill it with wood. You don't start the fire on the bottom and then build upwards. You fill it with wood, and then you start your fire on the top with a little bit of tinder stuff on the topmost, and then the fire gets engaged and then burns its way down through the fuel. And then if you need more burn time, you can gradually add fuel. When you're down to around 1/4 of the fuel left at the bottom, you just gradually add a little bit more over a few minutes, and that'll top it up and give you another 20 or 30 minutes, and you can just keep topping it up as you need to. And generally speaking, depending on what kind of stuff you're cooking, you may need to refuel, or you may not if you're just doing a quick boil up. But ideally, you're going to add the fuel gradually later in the burn, and that will extend your burn time. Generally speaking, the taller Tokes knockoff style, like the one on the left here, has the best capacity for ash and ember, I found. So I've easily run that one for more than 2 hours, and it starts to fill up after that long. But the other guys will tend to fill up much sooner, and then really there's nothing you can do except literally dump it out. And then once it's completely empty, you just start over with a fresh burn. So just something to think about depending on how long you actually want to cook. And in case anyone wants to see it, here's the data for the actual 3 different fuel types, for the 4 stoves, for the boil times for the water, and then the stop times for the fire. And if you really want, you can pause it. And that's it. Hope this was fun and interesting. I enjoyed making the videos, and maybe I'll do something else in the future. We'll see. Thanks very much for watching.